What if everything you were taught about death was incomplete? What if consciousness does not end when the heart stops beating? For decades, medicine has taught one unquestioned belief. When the brain stops, awareness disappears. No brain activity, no thoughts, no memory, no self. End of story. But one cardiologist spent his entire career standing exactly at the border between life and death. His name is Dr. Pim van Lommel, a man who restarted hundreds of hearts, a scientist trained to trust only measurable evidence that a doctor who believed consciousness was created entirely by the brain, until his patients forced him to question everything. Every cardiologist knows what happens during cardiac arrest. Within seconds, consciousness disappears, reflexes shut down, breathing stops, brain activity collapses. And within about 15 seconds, the EEG becomes flat. A silent brain. From a medical perspective, there should be nothing happening. No experience, no awareness, no memory forming. Yet survivors kept telling impossible stories. They described thinking clearly while clinically dead. They described emotions, memories, conversations. Some claimed they watched doctors working on their own bodies from above. At first, these stories sounded impossible. So Dr. Pim did what scientists do. He investigated. Instead of interviewing volunteers years later, he designed something revolutionary. Beginning in 1988, across 10 Dutch hospitals, every single cardiac arrest survivor was studied. No selection bias, no storytelling groups. Just data. Over time, 344 patients were interviewed shortly after resuscitation. The results shocked the medical world. 18% reported vivid near-death experiences. 82% remembered nothing at all. But here was the mystery. Both groups were medically identical. Same oxygen deprivation, same medications, same duration of cardiac arrest, same fear levels, same backgrounds. Nothing explained why some experienced consciousness when their brains were not functioning. All traditional explanations failed. Lack of oxygen? No correlation. Medication effects? No difference. Psychological expectation? Irrelevant. Something else was happening. Patients described remarkably similar experiences. First, pain vanished completely. Then came confusion. Am I dead or alive? Many described leaving their bodies. They watched doctors performing CPR, heard conversations in other rooms. Not guesses, verifiable details later confirmed. Then came darkness, a vast space, followed by a distant light. Many described moving through what felt like a tunnel toward overwhelming peace. Beyond it, they reported an environment more real than reality itself. Colors beyond earthly colors, sound beyond music, that a feeling of unconditional love impossible to describe. Some met deceased relatives. Others encountered what they called a being of light. In its presence, understanding arrived instantly. Noyament, only clarity. Then came the most transformative moment. The life review. People did not merely remember their lives. They relived them. Every action, every word, every intention, but from multiple perspectives. When they hurt someone, they felt that person's pain. When they showed kindness, they experienced the joy they created. For many, this realization changed everything. Life was not measured by achievements, but by impact, by compassion, by connection. Eventually, many reached a boundary, an unmistakable knowing. Cross this line, and you cannot return. Most heard the same message. It is not your time. And then, suddenly, they were back. Inside damaged bodies. Pain returned. Limitations returned. Confusion returned. Many described returning as the hardest part, because whatever they experienced felt more real than life itself. Dr. Pim followed these patients for years. What happened next mattered even more than the experience itself. Those who had near-death experiences changed permanently. Fear of death disappeared. Material success lost importance. Empathy increased dramatically. They felt deeply connected to other people and to nature. Many struggled to explain what happened. Some stayed silent for decades, afraid of being labeled irrational. Yet the transformation remained undeniable. Meanwhile, survivors without near-death experiences showed none of these changes, meaning the transformation was not caused by almost dying. It was caused by the experience itself. In 2001, Dr. Pim published his findings in the Lancet, one of the world's most respected medical journals. The implication was profound. If consciousness can exist when the brain shows no activity, then perhaps consciousness is not produced by the brain at all. Dr. Pim proposed a radical idea. The brain may function like a receiver. Just as a radio does not create music, it receives signals. The brain may allow consciousness to express itself through the body. He called this concept non-local consciousness, awareness not limited by time, space, or biology. This idea challenges everything: medicine, philosophy, identity itself. If consciousness continues beyond the body, death may not be an ending, but a transition, like birth into another state. Not everyone accepted his conclusions. New ideas rarely arrive without resistance. History shows the same pattern. Heliocentrism was rejected. Germ theory was mocked. Quantum physics was dismissed. Yet evidence slowly reshapes belief. Today, universities and scientific institutions continue discussing his work. The question remains open. But perhaps the most important lesson is not about death. It is about life. Nearly every patient returned with the same realization. Love matters more than achievement. Connection matters more than status. Kindness carries consequences beyond what we see. They could exist without their bodies, but their bodies could not exist without consciousness. So maybe the real question is not what happens after death, but rather, are we truly living before it arrives? Because if consciousness continues, then every action, every choice, every moment of compassion may matter far more than we ever imagined. Death may not be the end. It may simply be a doorway.